Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.
I'm a headliner.
What is up, Headliner Nation? Your boy Chris Chow's back again for the Fantasy Headliners, man. Today we're continuing down the path of off-season material. Now the Super Bowl is complete. We can dive into these teams and understand fully what they need to do. Today we got the Atlanta Falcons, and rise up, Atlanta Falcons. Are they a contender? Are they going to be blowing up? I've been of the opinion they need to blow this thing up already. Take a dump or get off the pot. That's kind of my motto with this club at this point, because you continue to keep moving down the path of trying to be contenders, and it's just not working anymore, man. But nevertheless, let's waste no time and dive into the Atlanta Falcons offseason workbook. So like I said with these Atlanta Falcons, man, this season was not good for them at all. 7-10 overall record, third in the NFC South. They missed the playoffs. And like I said, is it time to blow this up? Will they still be a contender, even though this division is very porous now? That's kind of the question marks. What do they do? Do they continue to put the Band-Aid approach on this team, or are they going to move forward and start the rebuild? Offensively and defensively, you can see their statistics were terrible. Basically bottom feeders in every single statistical category we can see, except for passing. They were the top 16, so give Matt Ryan a little bit more credit because he still tried his best. The rushing downside, basically last in the NFL in rushing offensive, is not a good sign whatsoever for the prospects moving forward. I mean, the top dogs for this team last season, we got Matt Ryan, 67%, almost 4,000, 20 TDs to 12 interceptions. We've seen this storyline many times. How many times Matt Ryan gets a new offensive scheme or coordinator, his first year the statistics fall down by the wayside? This is what happened again this season. Will he rebound? It's quite possible, but they need to give him some assistance at not only at the running back position, the wide receiver spot. Everything is contingent on the fact of Calvin Ridley. There's a lot of chatter happening about Ridley right now. We'll get into that as we move forward. Cordero Patterson, he was your guy, fantasy darling this season, likely off the waiver wire, and you scored huge, man. I mean, what? Over 1,000 total yards, 11 total touchdowns, 50 receptions plus. He gave you a lot of good weeks. And I mean, will he be back in Atlanta? It's hard to say based on what they owe and what he's going to want on the open market. Russell Gage was your top wide receiver, going for 770 and 4 touchdowns when Calvin Ridley decided to opt out for the mental health reasons. And you got superstar rookie talent Kyle Pitts. He had one of the best tight end seasons overall in the NFL, in NFL history for a rookie tight end. Man, he goes 68 for 10, 25, and 1 touchdown. And I mean, that was basically all your Atlanta Falcons had on offense this year. It was not a pretty sight overall. They did try to compete in a lot of contests. They did their best, and in some games they did overperform, especially when they got great performances from Cordero Patterson. But the minute Calvin Ridley went down, that's when this whole thing, or opted out, I keep saying it went down, but I mean, the minute Ridley opted out, I mean, that changed everything on this offense, and they just were not the same, man. But the meat and potatoes of this offseason comes for Atlanta in the salary cap. And former general manager Thomas Dimitroff did this team dirty, man. Not in the good way, the dirty bird way, but he did this team dirty because, I mean, he left them to fend for themselves now with the salary cap, a negative 5.885 owing, man. You don't even have a plus on this team that is terrible in roster construction. And I mean, you got priority free agents to sign, no question, man. Defensive end Dante Fowler, he is 27 years old. He is coming off the injury, but we understand what he is. Without viable talent to assist him on the defensive line, he kind of goes away. He is that secondary guy, but he is getting paid like a top dog on the line. He will still likely covet around the 10 million to 13 million range. I would not be surprised if somebody gives him another shot at 27 years old, as long as it's a team that has a defensive line who can assist him rather than him being the top dog. I think he will do still fine. I mean, he is coming off the injury, but he will not, in my opinion, be back for the Atlanta Falcons. Cordell Patterson finds himself in the same boat, man. He is 30 years old, this Swiss Army knife, running back, wide receiver. I mean, he's going to want his bag. This is going to be one of the last opportunities he's going to find ways to get paid, man, and $9.1 million is too much for me on any club. I would not be paying Cordero Patterson that type of money off the open market, man. But I mean, someone's going to give it to to him, and then likely his statistics will suffer. So watch out, fantasy people. Do not overdraft Cordero Patterson no matter where he goes, because Atlanta was literally the only team to figure out how to use him properly, and I really have my question marks that it's going to happen and translate again next season, man. Hayden Hurst likely out the door. He is 28 years old now with Kyle Pitts. They have no need for him and to pay for his services. Isaiah Oliver, 25 years old. This defensive back, he is still in my good graces. I still believe that he can play. I believe that he is a better talent than what he has shown overall. Injuries have precluded him from being a top dog on this defense, but I mean, coming back $2 million to 4.5 is not terrible money, and they could find ways to bring him back, and they need all hands on deck on that defensive secondary because they got gashed all over the field last year, man. Russell Gage, 26 years old, like I said, so he's now a free agent. They likely will look to re-sign his services with the uncertainty of Calvin Ridley. I think that's going to be the main staple of how they maneuver this wide receiver room this offseason. $3.5 million is not a terrible price. I could even see it get inflated. Somebody overpay Gage to around $4.5 to $5 million. I wouldn't pay for his services to that degree, but I think he has shown that he is a more than reliable above average target from the slot. Zacchaeus, man, 24 years old. He will be back because unless the Falcons decide to cut bait, he is an RFA, 24 years old, meaning he cannot speak to any other club. So he has, Atlanta basically has all the leverage here with $2.5 million, likeliest of his market value at this point. Teji Sharp, $1 million. He was the fill-in for when Calvin Ridley left. On the cheap deal, could they bring him back? Sure. Are there other options that could be better at the wide receiver position? Absolutely. So, I mean, does he come back? We'll see. Is it really offensive changing? Not really, man. Christian Blake in the same category as Zacchaeus. He is an RFA. They could bring him back. They like him a lot. He holds a lot of similar skill sets to that slot wide receiver weapon with speed, can make plays. He is under $1 million. And we got Young Ho Koo, my guy, man. Young Ho. I love this guy, man. He is one of the best kickers in the NFL, and you know he's going to be trying to get his money. $3 million to $4 million, ranging around some of the best in the NFL. I wonder if Atlanta is going to be able to pocket up and pony up the dough to get their man back to kick balls. I just don't see it, man. When it comes to the salary cap overall, potential cap cuts, let me put the GM hat on and see if I can find ways to save you guys some money, Atlanta Falcon fans. Matt Ryan is the biggest problem for your club. When Thomas Dimitroff continued to restructure deals, man, he created a massive mess overall, man. Matt Ryan currently holds a 23.32% of the team's salary cap on his contract alone. That is ridiculous. That's what happens when you restructure these deals. You add more bonus money, it gets put to the following season, and then you got to pay for it. Now the Falcons are paying for it, man. Pre-June 1st cut or trade for Matt Ryan, $8.1 million is saved. That's it, man. 40.5 goes to dead money. Completely screws you up for this year. So there's no way that they're going to be able to move Matt Ryan before June 1st. Post June 1st designation, they can cut or trade Matt Ryan and save yourself $23.7 million, man. Even though 24.9 goes to dead, you're still on the negative on this contract, but at least your savings will be a lot higher. So if we do see a Matt Ryan trade, expect it with a post June 1st designation, because that's the only way you're going to provide some relief to the salary cap. Next is Grady Jarrett, and I completely understand everyone's going to be like, they're not cutting Grady Jarrett. There's potential here for either a cut or a trade, simply because they're broke and they need some money, these Falcons. Grady Jarrett is a good talent, is a fantastic talent, but they restructure, let's put it that way as well. They could do that and push money again next year, but if they do cut or trade, $16.5 million as of today is saved, with only 7.3 going to dead funds. So that is money to be had. Mike Davis, another one. His contract isn't great, but there is money to be saved here. 2.45 with only $750K going to dead money. And the other defensive tackle, Davison, 3.81 with only 1.2 going to dead funds. So the potential cap savings here is decent at $22.76 million to at least get you in the conversation to not only re-sign some of your players and try to go get some quality fill-in pieces off the open market. The issues continue when you start making cap cuts with or trades with heavy dead money. Julio Jones, they're still paying for this man. He owns 7.43% of the Atlanta Falcons salary cap at this point in dead money, man. $15.5 million. That's crazy. Calvin Ridley again. So if they do decide to trade Calvin Ridley, it's going to put them into cap troubles unless the team comes to an agreement to say they will take on all the bonus money, because $11.16 million is on the last year of his rookie deal with no cap savings. So, that's a massive problem. Money tied up all over the place on this Falcons club. Jake Matthews, Deion Jones, Calvin Ridley, like I said, and Kyle Pitts, man. You got massive dollars being eaten up when it comes to 23.68 for Jake Matthews, 20.01 for Deion Jones, like I said, 11 for Calvin, and then you got 7.47 for Pitts, but his dead funds obviously 26.9. You wouldn't trade or move him, but he's unmovable at this point, and that's where all the funds have been eaten up at this point, man. When it comes to the NFL draft, this is the only spot that you can make damage. You gotta hit the draft in every single round to try to fill this roster. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, your team needs are basically all over this roster. I could have put everything basically on this roster: D-line, edge, running back, outside linebacker, DB, wide receiver, especially depending on what they're going to do with Calvin Ridley. We've heard a lot of stuff and a lot of conversation that he could be traded, and if he's not traded before the draft, definitely watch out for Calvin Ridley's name to be floating around in this draft, man, because they could easily recoup another first-round pick if they want, and some to round out this roster if that's the way they're going to go, man. Right now, as of today, Atlanta has pick number 8 in the first round, and for me, I'm going D-line, edge, or linebacker. At pick 8, you can get a Lloyd, you can get a Nakobe Dean, you can get one of the top edge rushers in this draft. Even if a top DB falls to you here like a Sauce Gardner, you can't pass that up. At number 8, they're going to have options, and they will be able to utilize this pick to round out a very high-end potential piece. I put down in round 3, this is where you go get your running back. This draft has a lot of great running backs. Elite, no. Generational talent, likely not. But they have a lot of great talented running backs that the Atlanta Falcons could use, man. The Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Walker III, Rashard White. You have talent. James Cook, you have talent here in the running back position. So if I'm Atlanta, I am not even looking on the open market for a running back. I'm going to the draft, and you can definitely find a plug-and-play piece this season. Kyron Williams from Notre Dame in the 3rd round, 4th round. I would love that for Atlanta, and they definitely could do that. But if you want more info on these rookies coming in, we are dropping scouting reports as we speak on Headliner U. Go after the show and subscribe to Headliner U. Do us that favor. Excuse me. Do us that favor as we are building and growing this offseason, and you guys will get all the tutelage and education on these rookies, I should say. But players under contract right now, the Matt Ryan, Mike Davis, we know, like I said, potential cap cut. Calvin Ridley, he is a potential trade candidate, and they're going to recoup likely a first-round pick for him. Zacchaeus is the RFA. Blake is the RFA. That's why I'm putting them in there. They could definitely be released if Atlanta chooses to do so. But if you get rid of Ridley, this is your receiving core with Kyle Pitts. That's pretty tough to get around, man, and I feel bad for Matt Ryan because that's going to be very difficult to maneuver, man. Defensively, Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, AJ Terrell, those are your top dogs, and you're going to have issues all over the field trying to round this out. But that is the Atlanta Falcons. Like I said, it is a mixed bag of horrid tricks. I don't like it whatsoever. Atlanta, we will be praying for you. So there you have it, man. That is the Dirty Birds and their problems. What are they going to do this offseason? They got a lot of work to do. I feel sorry for you Atlanta fans, but you know what? If I'm of the opinion, I don't even bother going for this division. Start the rebuild, man. I know you got to play it out because your cap troubles are there, but I would look for every opportunity to begin this rebuild. Hit on your draft as much as possible. Try to trade as much as possible to start stacking picks where you can, man. Could Matt Ryan, this will likely be his last year, I want to say, so it's going to be difficult, but a very interesting offseason for them nonetheless. So there you have it, man. As always, go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. I am out.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.